Hello everyone, back to you in today's video. Going to have a look at where it's week to 10 days in today's video. There's a lot of uncertainty yesterday about what's happening next week. I think things are becoming a little bit clearer. It looks like we're going to get northerly winds coming down next week, which could be really quite cool for time of year. But before that, we're going to have a fairly big warm-up over the weekend. So there's going to be some interesting contrasts over the next week or so with what the temperatures are doing. Have a look at that in a second. Also, we're going to have a look at CFSV2 for the next month. That's going to take us to the end of August. And we'll also, finally, at the very end of the video, have a look at what CFSV2 is showing for the winter. Been some big changes over the past few weeks in terms of CFSV2 winter outlook. So I'll show you that in a second. Before we get on with all of that, though, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on all the pages. If you can have a browse widgets and click through the links, you'll be helping us to pay for our website, and thanks very much for doing that. There's video ads, most pages, which own that content when you watch them, it grows back up again, and it does help to pay for GavsWeatherVids.com, so thanks so much for getting involved. And thanks for doing that. Just over for radar picture was a wet night across much of England and Wales last night. It's led to a really grotty start to Tuesday. We've got damp conditions and a lot of cloud across England and Wales. Particularly, you see there's still showery bursts of rain, particularly in the south. A few quite heavy bursts still left in the far southeast. Otherwise, it's generally quite light and patchy stuff. I think this will get increasingly light and showery through the course of this afternoon. But I expect to keep a lot of cloud. It's a fairly humid feel to the weather as well. I think we'll see a fresher feel, though, as we go in towards tomorrow. So these are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. The red line here is a 30-year temperature average. So right now we're a bit above average, and that's the reason there's a fairly humid feel with this damp weather and cloudy conditions. Now, as we go through the rest of the working week, we're going to see a bit of a cooling trend there towards the end of the week. Thursday, Friday, temperature going a bit cooler than average. As we get through into the weekend, the temperatures are lifting up again. So you're going to turn a really quite warm over the weekend. We could well see temperature around 27 degrees in the southeast by Sunday. That's around 80 Fahrenheit, 81 Fahrenheit. It's going to be really quite hot down in the southeast. But next week, you see quite a definitive change now. This is different to what it's showing yesterday. Quite a big drop in temperature taking place through the early part of next week. And it does look like things are going really quite cool then. So up and down with the temperatures over the next week to 10 days. In terms of rainfall, well, here's the precipitation spike associated with the wet weather we had last night and lasting into this morning across the southeast. There could be further showers coming up over the next couple of days. Then it goes drier over the weekend. So as this warm-up occurs here, it's also turning drier away from Scotland anyway, over the weekend. So it's going to be quite a nice weekend. If you've got any plans, maybe got any barbecues planned, it looks like it's going to be okay, I think, this weekend. Warmer and drier conditions then. As we go through into next week with this drop in temperature, we've also got rainfall spikes coming back, so it implies at the very least there's risk of showers as we go through into next week. So here's how the GFS is looking then for Saturday. High pressure's building to the south, low pressure is out to the northwest. And this low pressure looks like quite a significant feature running to the north of Scotland by Sunday. So really tight back ties by Scotland. It's going to be an interesting weekend. There could be gale force winds for Scotland. Possibly some very wet weather in the really far north of Scotland, around the North Lines. Possibly the Outer Hebrides. Could be some very wet weather and gale force winds. For England and Wales, though, we're close to this area of high pressure from the Azores. So that's got very warm air associated with it. Be a lot of very warm, dry and sunny conditions across England and Wales over the weekend. So a real contrast there. Now that risk just about holds on as we go through into Monday. However, we've got this area of low pressure developing in the Atlantic. And look what happens with this. During Tuesday, it starts to move in across the country. Now, as this comes into warm air, it might produce some thunder in the southeast on Tuesday. But the main thing it's going to do is lower the temperatures. So as it goes into Wednesday, that low pressure then is moving to the east of the country, and it's opening the door to this northerly wind. And that's quite a strong wind as well. So this is how we go into Thursday. Now, this is quite a way off, but there's agreement now between the GFS and the ECM on this scenario a proper northerly wind is coming down there through the middle part of next week. If you follow the isobars back, the air with that is originating somewhere to the north of Scandinavia, coming down across the country. So that's going to really blow the cobwebs away. If that comes off, the temperatures will lower by several degrees. It'll feel actually quite autumnal, particularly close to these North Sea coasts. Doesn't last too long. By Friday, which is day 10, Friday 12th of August, that low pressure is clearing away to the east. Bit of a transient ridge building from the Atlantic, and the flow's backing into the west again, bringing, well, back to normal type temperatures as we go through into the very end of next week. But for a couple of days from the middle of next week, that really is quite a significant northerly plunge. Here's the upper air temperatures for Saturday. That warm air is starting to move up across the country. Into Sunday, we're all within warm air. Although it's very windy across Scotland, so it'll be windy, humid and damp in the north, dry and very warm with sunshine in the south. That warm air continues into Monday, but by Tuesday it's starting to be pushed out of the way by this area of low pressure. By Wednesday we're in significantly cooler air then. And look at this, Thursday, we're bringing down the 0 Celsius isotherms. This black line just here introducing these green colours. Now, that doesn't look all that significant, but that's autumnal air. You don't expect to see the 0 Celsius isotherm until you get through in towards the autumn period. So when you get that in summer, it does feel really very cool indeed. And then we go into the end of next week, and the milder air begins to return, or warmer air begins to turn back in off the Atlantic. Temperatures are looking like this. Now, always bear in mind these are quite low resolution charts, so they're not to be relied upon. These temperatures, you normally increase them by a couple of degrees. So, for example, Saturday is showing 24, 25 degrees across England and Wales. You could possibly increase that 26, 27. Sunday, again, 25, 26, so you may be able to increase that 27. Possibly somewhere like then up to 28 degrees on Sunday afternoon. That's around 83 Fahrenheit. Notice significantly cooler, though, the Scotland, North Line and northwestern parts of England. That warmth still just about hanging on into the southeast on Monday, but by Tuesday it's starting to go, and as we get through into the middle of next week, this is Wednesday, look at that, temperature's much cooler then, just down into the teens Celsius, and that goes into Thursday as well, where we've got maximums of around 12 to say 17 degrees, so increase that by a couple of degrees, that could be 14 to 19, but it will feel significantly cooler then as we go through into the middle part of next week. And minimum temperatures are going down into single digits widely across the country. So you will notice change. If this comes off as we go through into next week, you really are going to notice the change with that. And this is what the ECMWF is doing, very similar. So over the weekend, we've got high pressure ridging up from the Azores into the south country. This area of low pressure is out in the Atlantic. That becomes quite a major feature on Sunday as it runs to the northwest of Scotland, bringing strong winds to Scotland and North Line, possibly up to gale force in the Outer Hebrides. England and Wales hangs on to this warm ridge of high pressure. It'll be very warm down in the southeast, wet and windy potentially in the northwest. Through into Monday, that ridge is still just about clinging on. As we get through into Tuesday, low pressure comes in from the Atlantic, brings much cooler air down across the country, probably with a band of quite heavy rain. As we go into the middle of next week, that low pressure sits just to the east of Scotland, and again we pull down this northerly wind. So again, follow the isobars back. This is even further north with the northerly wind coming right way down from the Arctic as we go through into the middle part of next week. And we go to day 10 on Friday 12th of August, still in that northerly flow coming down across the country. Upper air temperatures looking very cool indeed. So we're going to get this warm up briefly in the south around the weekend, just inside of next week. It looks like it's going to go significantly cooler as we get through into the middle part of next week with a bit of a shock to the system there if these northerly winds come off. Now this is in the extended range of both these models, so although we're in agreement, it could be downgraded. Let's just wait and see. It is quite a substantial northerly that they're going for, and it's quite unusual to get that at this point in the summer. Have a look at CFS-V2 for the next month. 500 millibar height anomalies broken down to week periods. First week period is going from the 2nd through to the 8th of August. Looks unsettled with low pressure below average heights to the north, a ridge down to the southwest, and the flow is coming through like that. We go through to week 2, which is the 9th to the 15th of August. Again, we're in agreement for this northerly shot. We've got ridging out to the northwest, above average heights up there, trough of low pressure over Scandinavia. Between the two, the flow goes into the north. So the CFS V2 is also seeing this risk of northerly winds through the middle and latter stages of next week. Week 3, it's changed again. This is the 16th, 22nd of August. This one looks quite nice. We've got below average heights clearing away north of Scandinavia. Above average heights building up from the southwest. Still got some blocking around Greenland. I think the jet stream's going north with that. So that's a better week there. Warmer and drier through that week period. However, we go through the final week, which is the 23rd, 29th of August, and it's back to unsettled conditions again. Low pressure centering over Scandinavia and north of Scotland. Still some blocking around Greenland, and the flow is going around the country like that. That looks cooler and quite wet as we go through there. So it's really up and down this August. The temperatures are going up and down. The patterns are going up and down. There will be some decent weather in there, but it doesn't look sustained at the moment. It looks like it's going to be quite a changeable August to go with a changeable summer that we've had, really. And some quite interesting contrasts from week to week. Just very quick before I go to show you the CFS V2 Winter 2016-2017 forecast. So this was the 700 millibar height anomaly from the CFS V2 from early in July. And I did speak about this back in July. It had a lot of blocking above average heights around Greenland with a trough underneath it. And we said that's very close to setting up quite a cold winter pattern. When you've got that much blocking to the north and a trough underneath, it tends to suggest the winds will be coming in from a northerly or northeasterly direction. But look at the latest, and it's a reversion to what you would typically get in the winter in the UK. So we've lost all of that blocking around Greenland, and instead we've got low pressure around Greenland and Iceland. We've got ridging through the central Atlantic, and just very simply a westerly flat westerly type pattern. Atlantic driven, that will be pretty mild, pretty wet, and possibly windy at times as well, but nothing particularly out of the ordinary. It's a big difference, big change on what the CFS V2 was showing last month. Now, it's a long way off, of course, winter 2016-2017. So if you are waiting for some cold weather, have 3 mild winters, you're waiting for some colder weather this winter, don't be despondent at that. It's just basically the case that the model is playing around with ideas. It's trying to latch on to the right outcome. And, of course, eventually it will get there. But it'd be very unusual for it to have the correct outcome of winter this early. So that could well change significantly again over the next few weeks. And, of course, I'll be keeping you posted. In more immediate time frame, well, we're going to be having some pretty warm weather coming up at the weekend down in the south, while we've got gales going on in the north. So that's going to be quite an interesting contrast. Then early next week, we keep warm conditions. Very briefly on Monday. Looks like it's all changed in the middle of next week, though, as it turns much cooler from the north. And this sets the pattern probably for August, with a lot of changing going on, a lot of chopping and changing. And it's really quite interesting weather, I think, actually. Some interesting contrasts coming up this August. That's all now. 5-day forecast tomorrow. And have a look at Beijing Climate Centre for the next month. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.